This is a simple setup for Sparks that can be applied to a variety of different animations. In this video, I will go over how to build this setup and also the basics of particle simulations in Houdini. I'm going to start by importing the camera. So, File, Import, Alembic Scene. In here, I'm going to find my camera, Sparks camera. The camera Alembic will be available for you in the description of the video, and I will also probably make a video about how to set it up. We got our camera here. We can set our camera view to it, but we don't have anything in the scene yet. So I'm going to put down a geometry object, dive inside into geometry level, and put down an Alembic node to pick up the box. I'll make a video about how I created this box animation, but this box is also in the description of this video. Accept, and let's see what we got if we play it. And it goes really fast, so I'm gonna toggle real time to limit it to real time playback. And then I'm just gonna shorten my timeline. Let's just say 60. So we got this. If you check the info card of this node, you can see that we have a packed Alembic. So I'm going to unpack it with an unpack node. And I'm also going to toggle convert polygons subprimitives to polygons. And now we got 8 points and 6 primitives. We have some attributes. We have P and V. And we also have the angular velocity of the box. Next, I'm going to put down a grid for this box to slide on top of. So just going to merge the two together just to look at it together. And then we have to set its size. Maybe let's make it a little bit wider as well. So in here, just going to move it out on both sides. You can give it a few more rows and columns. And I want to move the box down just a little bit. Because later on I'm going to deform the ground a little bit, and I just wanted to have like a good contact to the ground. And now I'm going to put down a null for the box, because I'm going to be using this box for a few things, and I don't want my wires to go all over the place, so I'm just going to put down an object merge and guide the object merge to the box. So we got the box here. I want to move my grid down. And now I'm going to start building my Spark setup. First, let's remesh the box. And let's see what we got. I think I want a bit more points, so I'm going to take the target size down so the triangles become smaller, or 10 centimeters each. Something like this. But we might run into problems this way because the box is being remeshed on every frame. So there's a different set of topology creating its frame since the box is moving. So I'm gonna freeze the box, put down a time shift. And in here, I'm gonna delete this parameter channel. I'm just gonna set it to 1. And then I'm gonna plug it into the remesh node as a reference. So now the box will only be remeshed at this freeze frame. Just to show you what I mean, I'm going to put down a color node and give each point a random color value, so random. So now if you play the timeline, you can see that the colors stay consistent. If I, however, cut this wire, every frame the point count is shifting and the colors with it. So it's flickering. And if we put it back in, it's stable. Now let's bring back our grid node, so this one. And what I want to do is array this box onto this grid based on the closest point. So I'm going to put down array. And I'm going to array it onto the grid. And method is going to be minimum distance. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I want to see the distance between here and here, and that way calculate where I want the sparks to come off. But just before we do that, I'm going to go back to my Remus node, and I noticed the box lost its sharp edges, so I'm going to go and put a star into hard edge group, and now we got the sharp edges back. To calculate the distance between here and here, I'm going to use an attribute swap. I'm going to connect the box into the first input and then the arrayed box onto the second input. And move the blue flag to the attribute swap. I'm going to dive inside, and in here I'm going to put down a import point attribute node. Import point attribute. I want to import the geometry that's coming in through the second input. You can also set it here. It's enough to set it just in one of the places. And I do want P, so that's good. And just to see it's working, let's connect this P to the output P. And you can see it's like this. If I create a vector between here and here, I can calculate the length of the vector and that way figure out the distance from each point to the ground. And the way to create a vector between these two positions is to subtract them. So I'm going to put down a subtract node. And then to visualize it, I'm going to plug this into the normals. And let's take a look at the normals. And I'm going to open the display options by pressing D above the scene view. And then in the guides tab, you can scale normals to 1. And this is only for visualization. So now this is the real length of the normal. It's in the opposite direction, so we can just switch the inputs of the subtract node. And it goes down, but it doesn't really matter because the length of the vector will be the same anyway. And then if we go upstairs and template the grid, you can see that the normals are always landing at the ground. So we got the vector and now we just have to calculate its length. So I'm going to go back inside of the attribute swap and disconnect the normals here, turn off the normals in the scene view. And then here I'm going to put down a length node. And notice the input is bright green and the output is a duller green. This is a vector and this is a float. Let's plug it into a test attribute. So I'm going to put down a bind export. And let's just call it test. And this is each point's distance from here. So it's each point's distance from the grid. You can also look at it in color. And you can see where it's close to the grid, it's black. And then the further it goes from the grid, it becomes white. Close to the grid, we have low numbers, close to 0. And then further away from the grid, we got high numbers, close to 1. I'm going to run these values through a fit node. So in here, I'm just going to put down a fit. And I know that I want the sparks to come off anywhere where the box is less than 10 centimeters from the grid. So I'm going to change the source max to 0.1. And you can see we got this black line here. And so now we have a low value close to the grid and then higher values further away from the grid. But I would like the opposite. So I'm just going to change the destination minimum to 1 and the destination maximum to 0. So we have reversed the values. So this is going to be the part that emits particles. Instead of calling this test, I'm going to change the name to density. And then I'm going to release the color and go back upstairs. So now we have a density attribute here that goes from 0 to 1. And we can plug that into a scatter node. So I'm going to put down a scatter node. And in here, I'm going to toggle density attribute. And by default, it's set to density. So we got some points where our density attribute is above 0. I want to untoggle the force total count and use the density scale instead. So let's try 100, and now if we play, this will give us 51, so maybe let's do 3 times that. And then I want to untoggle relax iterations to get a less even distribution. So now we are ready to go into DOPs. So I'm going to put down a DOP network. Connect it, move the blue flag and dive inside. In here I'm going to put down a pop object. And I'm going to keep it empty. And I'm going to put down a pop solver. Connect it and move the blue flag. Then I want to bring my points into the simulation, so I'm going to put down a pop source. And I want to pick up the geometry from the first context. This one. And then I want to use all of the points. And now if we play, we got some points in the scene. Notice they're already moving, although we did nothing. And that is because this node uses the velocity of the points. So it inherits the velocity from up here. Let's add some gravity. So they fall down, and then let's add a ground plane. I'm going to merge it to the tree. Make sure the ground plane is on the left. If you are using left inputs, affect right input. And now let's play it again. And we got some points colliding with the ground. I want to work on the velocity of these points first. So I'm going to go upstairs and do that before we enter the simulation. So it's the initial velocity, the initial push that then slowly is going to wear off throughout the simulation. So I'm going to put down an attribute WAP and find a good frame. And then to visualize the velocities, I'm going to open the info card and toggle the V attribute. Dive inside. And here I can pick up the velocity, the V, and I think I just want a little bit of the initial velocities. So let's just do a multiply constant and connect V, and I'm just gonna take like 20% of the initial value and output it to the velocity. So you can see now we have less velocity. Then I want to add some curl noise. I'm gonna plug P into pause. And then to just see how it looks, I'm gonna plug it into V, velocity. I'm going to take the roughness to 0 and then increase the frequency. Maybe something like this. Maybe bring back some roughness. And then what I want to do is to multiply it by the length of the original velocity. I'm going to make sure the curl noise goes in the first input and the length goes in the second input. The reason why I do this is because if the box is moving fast, I want the sparks to go far, and if it's going slow, I want the sparks to go a short distance. So I'm going to take the amplitude down. Let's just take it temporarily to 0. And now let's add the original velocity that is scaled down to the curl noise. So I'm going to put down an add. Connect both and plug it into the output velocity. And then back in my curl noise, I'm just going to increase the value a little bit so we can have something like this. Now I'm going to go upstairs and I'm going to turn off the visualization for the velocity. And let's see how this looks in a simulation. Looks okay. I think I might want them to go a little further. So I'm just going to go back into the attribute WAP. And here at the end, I'm going to put down a multiply constant node. And let's just multiply it by 1.5. And let's see how this looks. Something like this. And then maybe we want a few more points. So I'm going to increase the density scale of the scatter to 900. Something like this. Now let's go back into the dot network. So if you look in the geometry spreadsheet, you have two objects, the ground plane and the pop object. Both of these objects get their name from the nodes that they're created. So the object name is set here, and right now is set to the name of the node. Inside of the pop object, you have the geometry, and these are all of the points in the sim and all of the attributes that are on the points. So for example, you have the velocity attribute here. So this is the velocity of all the points in the scene. But you also have a age attribute and a live attribute. So the age has to do with how many seconds the particle has been alive. And the live has to do with when the particle will die. So when the age reaches 100, the particle will die. And this is in seconds. So when a particle has been alive for around 24 frames, its age should be around 1. Back on the pop source, in the birth tab, you can set the live expectancy. So if we take this down to 10, you can see when we refresh the sim that live has gone down to 10. And then you can add the live variance. So if we, for example, put the variance to 5 and refresh the sim, the live will go from 5 to 15. So 10 plus minus 5. You can also set these attributes before the sim. So if I go up here and put down an attribute adjust float, and set the attribute name to live, this value will be overwritten. So now the live is 0, so all of the particles die right away after they're born. Here we can set the pattern type to random. And I want them to go from living for half a second to live for 1.5 seconds. And then I want to use this remap ramp. So you can open it up here if you don't have it open. And I'm just going to change this to B spline or something like this. so we can get an exponential ramp. So most of the particles will live for a little bit more than half a second, and then just a few of them will stay alive until 1.5 seconds. Now let's see how this looks. Something like this. Now if you want to add some drag, you can. So I'm just gonna put down a pop drag after the pop source. And I just want to add a little bit. And just be careful, if you put this value high, it'll kill the sim. It won't look nice. And now I'm gonna bring back the particles to SOP. So inside of Object Merge, I'm gonna remove the star, and instead I'm gonna choose the pop object one. So I only import the points. Let's see what attributes we have. We have a lot of attributes. So I'm just gonna clean it up a little bit. So I'm gonna put down an attribute delete. And I'm gonna select delete non-selected. And then I'm just gonna pick the attributes I want to keep. So I want to keep P and velocity, and then I want to keep the ID attribute and life, and let's also take age. And now if you look at the info card, we have just a few attributes, and we do have one group, and this group is coming from the pop source node. So in stream, it creates this group here, pop source 1. We can take a look at it in the geometry spreadsheet too in here. So if we just choose the group attributes, we have this one group, stream pop source 1. This group can be useful if you're bringing in different pop sources or something like that. But I don't need it, so I'm just gonna delete it. Like this. To see the size of these points, we can open up the display options, and in the geometry tab, we can set display particles as disks. So this is an approximation for the size of the particles. To adjust it, I'm going to put down another attribute, adjust float, and by default, it's already set to p-scale, and right now it's set to 0. So I'm just going to set pattern type to random. And then I want the smallest particles maybe to be 0.01 and the biggest to be 0.03. And then we can again use an exponential ramp. So I'm going to change this to maybe B-spline and then do something like this. So most of the particles will have this p-scale and just a few will have this p-scale. Let's look how this works. Okay. One thing we might want to do is have the particle become smaller before they disappear. Because right now, if we take this back to constant, and let's make them a little bit smaller, the particles just disappear. So what we can do is that we can use the age and the life attribute to say, just before you die, decrease your size. So first I want to create a new attribute, so I'm going to put down attribute wrangle. And I'm going to call this attribute lifespan. So F for float at lifespan is, and I'm going to set it equal to the age, and age is also a float, divided by F at life. So the age divided by life. So how much of your life have you lived? And this will go from 0 to 1. And if we plug it into color, you can see it better. So I'm going to put down a color node and set the color type to ramp from attribute. And the attribute is lifespan. And now you can see when the particles are just born, they're black. And then just before they die, they are completely white. And then I'm going to put down another attribute that just float. And again, the name is pscale. And in this case, I'm going to set the operation to multiply. And then I'm going to set the pattern type to remap attribute. Down here, you can choose a source attribute, and the name of my attribute is lifespan. And now you can see it's small when they just get born, and then they become bigger and bigger. But I actually want the opposite. So first I'm going to change these guys into B-spline. And then I'm going to turn this ramp around. And then I want them to start off with a p-scale of 0 and then increase their size very fast. And then gradually become smaller. And now let's see how this looks. And because we set the operation to multiply, we will still keep this value, but we will just multiply it by this value. So I'm going to go back up here and change this back to random. And let's see how this looks. So the sparks start off big and then become smaller. And this is more or less what I'm going to be rendering. I might come back and adjust some parameters, but for now I'm just going to put down a null. And I'm going to call it render sparks. I'm going to create a render object, so I'm going to put down another geometry. So I'm just going to turn off the visualization of everything. And I'm going to call this render sparks. And I want to pick up this node here. So inside of here, I'm going to put down an object merge. And you can use this, but I prefer just to do dot slash to go out of this node, dot again to go out of this object, and then it's inside of Geo1 and it's called render sparks. And we have the sparks here. I also want to do the same for the ground and also for the box. So I'm going to go inside of my system. And here, where the box is, I'm just going to put down another null. This is going to be render box. And then upstairs, I'm going to do another geometry object. Call it render box. Go inside and do an object merge. In here, again, I'm going to go out of this node, up one level, then into Geo1. And then the null is called render box. So we have both the box and the sparks. And now let's get the ground. I did make a ground somewhere here, but I'm just gonna copy it and put it here on the side. And then do another null for that. And this is gonna be render ground. Go upstairs, put down another geometry. Render ground. And then object merge. I'm gonna go out of this node, up one level, into Geo1, and then it's called render ground. So now we have got everything we need to render. I'm going to save the scene and go into Solaris. I'm going to put down a scene import. And I'm going to force the render box, render ground, render sparks, and the camera. And I just hold down Control or Shift to choose all of these. So we got everything into Solaris and we have the camera. The camera is not here. So let's go back in here and let's open up the camera. Make sure we choose this one maybe. Pick up the box, ground and sparks again and accept pattern. And now we should have the camera. And to see better what's going on, I'm going to open up the scene graph tree. And here we have all the objects in the scene. I'm going to change the view to Karma CPU. So this is the rendered image. Let's put down a light. So I'm just going to use an environment light. And I'm just going to merge these two together. So now we got the light inside of here as well, dome light. I just want a little bit of light. So I'm going to reduce this. I'm going to go out of this transform and then I'm going to hide the light geometry. I'm going to turn off the grid. And then I'm going to open the display options and I just want to put the background to dark. Now let's give some shaders to the objects. So I'm going to put down a material library. And dive inside. And I'm going to open up the material palette. And I'm just going to put down 3 principal shaders. And this one is going to be for the sparks. This one is going to be for the box. And this one is going to be for the ground. And then I'm going to go upstairs and I'm going to assign these materials. So assign material. I want to assign 3 materials. 1 to the sparks. So I'm going to do slash render sparks. And I'm going to pick up the sparks material. Then I'm going to assign another material to the box. So render box. And I'm going to use the box material. And then the ground, render ground. And I'm going to use the ground material. Now let's go back into here. We can start with the sparks. I'm going to make them white. And then I want them to emit light. So emission color is going to be white. And then we can increase the emission intensity. We don't have any motion blur right now, but we will add it later. So for the box, I was thinking maybe we could have it not reflect much light. Maybe increase the roughness. Something like this. And then for the ground, I would like the ground to reflect some lights, and I'm kind of just happy with how the ground is now. Maybe we can make it a little bit metallic too. Something like this. Now let's go upstairs outside of the material library. And you can put this anywhere in this chain. I'm just going to put it here. I render geometry settings to give some velocity blur to the points and the box. So inside of primitives, I'm going to put the sparks. So it's slash render sparks. And I also want the box to have some velocity blur, so render box. Like this. And then in motion blur, I'm gonna click this icon and say set or create, and then change velocity blur to velocity blur. And now we got some velocity blur in the scene. I think my sparks might be a touch big, so I'm gonna pin the view and go to the object level. And inside of the system, I'm going to revisit the P-scale node. So the first one. Not this one, but where we set it to random. I'm going to decrease these values a bit. And maybe this one can go to 0.005. Something like this. And now let's go back to Solaris. And let's try to render out the whole sequence. So I'm going to put down a Karma setup. It's going to give us 2 nodes. And now you can see that something is wrong, and that is cannot find the camera because this camera doesn't exist. This is our camera, so you can just select it, and that's good. You can set the resolution and adjust the render settings. I'm going to change the name of this node to Sparks. That's going to be the name of the file, output file. And since I might be doing a few versions, I'm gonna copy the file name and the node name and make a folder with the same name. So now this will create a folder called render and then another folder. And there it will put the files. I'm gonna save my scene and choose render specific frame range. And then I'm just going to render it in the background. So save again and render to disk in background. Background render has started, and we can see it in the render scheduler here. And it's just going through all the frames. And we got a new folder next to our HIP file. And inside we have another folder, and there the files are stacking up. And we got all the frames, all 60 of them, so let's check them out in mPlay. I probably should render a few more frames just to let them die out, so I'm gonna go back to states and I'm gonna increase my frames down here, and then in the render node I'm just gonna change this to 61, so 61 to 80, and let's render that. And we got 70 frames. Let's see how that looks. Open. Load. So now you can go back and adjust your system. If you think your sparks should go further out, you can increase the initial velocity before they enter the sim. You can adjust their alive attribute, how long you want them to live. You can adjust how many points there are by changing the scatter density. You can even adjust how much they should bounce and figure out the look you're after. I'm going to unpin the view and then go back to the system. So if you want fewer sparks, you can decrease the density scale. If you want them to shoot out further or shorter, you can adjust this value here. This is the initial velocity of the points. If you want them to live longer or shorter, you can adjust these parameters. Then inside of the pop network, maybe you want them to have a bit more drag, so more air resistance. Here you can choose if you want them to bounce more or how much friction you want the particles to have. And then also on the ground, you can set how much the particles should bounce on the ground and the friction as well. If you want to adjust the size, it's this node here, so minimum and maximum. And then to adjust the size throughout their life, that is this one. Next up, we'll be deforming the ground a little bit. And please like and subscribe.